So the reason is because without uniqueness, there would be no reason that we should implement living wages. So, for example, if right now, without living wages, families who are earning minimum wages are living the best lives ever, why would we ever want to give them a living wage?
Yeah.
So something has to be wrong for us to change it. The example I gave you was if you're being badgered by your parents about your grades, right? Like if you have perfect grades and are going to be the valedictorian of your high school and your parents
Yeah.
are just like really complaining about how much you study, I feel like a valid response would be, "Mom, Dad, look, like I'm getting perfect grades. I think my studying habits are probably okay."
Yeah.
Right? So that indicates that because you're doing well, that you don't need to study. Now, if the uniqueness evidence is not true, if Fox is not being won, then it doesn't. The rest of the contention falls.
Yeah, because there's no reason to do the advocacy anymore. So like the link and the impact don't matter anymore.
Exactly. So let's talk about the link and the impact. Um,
Okay.
on your flow, you should have flowed the Fox evidence, and you should have also flowed where it ended. Fox itself specifically indicated that the people who have it the worst off in the world of the minimum wage are women, people of color, and individuals with lower levels of education.
Yeah. Okay.
Uh,
Mhm.
Ideally, you would have gotten down the numbers 15.1% women and 16.2% blacks. So that gives you a percentage of people who are like stuck near the level of the minimum wage.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay.
The other thing about the Fox evidence that you should note is that it's an empirical study, yeah?
Yeah. 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 Empirical. Yeah.
But the thing about the Fox evidence is that it's citing a different empirical study.
Okay. So it's okay.
It's citing Carrington and Phallic. So these are all things you should have noticed about the Fox evidence when it was being read on your flow.
I didn't. So wait.
So out of those things, how many of them did you catch?
I got the empirical study part. I got the 16.2%. I didn't get the 15.2%. So I got like out of like two things. I got down the women, children, and blacks in the 16.2%, but I didn't get the important part which you're talking about, which is about the empirical study. I mean, that they cited a different empirical study.
Right.
I didn't get
Okay.
that.
That's not a problem. It's This is the first time we're doing this, so it'll improve over time. So let's look at the next card. So take me through what you have flowed down for Adams and Newmark
Yeah.
04.
So Adams is basically saying that the the living wage pushes people out of poverty. The empirical study, I believe, or something like that, is between 1995 and 2001. Something about 2.4%, and then you say there's a 12% reduction of people in poverty. I
Good.
believe that's what I. Yeah.
Perfect. So what this indicates then is that right now in the status quo, people don't have enough money, and if we were to implement the affirmatives advocacy, people would start having more money.
Okay. So this is the link now, correct? Or
Right. Exactly.
okay. Okay.
So take me through the Adams and Newmark 2 evidence.
Okay. Yeah. They're saying that something about 3/4 of poverty, and that it delivers gains to people around the poverty line. It also talks about how there's a low income and how exactly it also helps people above the poverty line as well, like marginally above it, I believe.
Okay, that makes sense. So what was the function of Adams and Newmark 2?
I think, but what it's basically saying also is that it's another addition to the link evidence. Like it's reinforcing the link about how exactly the living wage um, would again reinforce the reduction of poverty. So it's not the impact yet. The part I think the impact is Jamal about how poverty is like nuclear war.
Okay, so good. Let's take a step back.
Okay, yeah,
Let's say that all I had read in the first contention was the Fox evidence and both the Adams and Newmark evidence.
yeah.
Had I done that, what would have been the easiest and most persuasive way to answer this case?
It's simple because you don't have an impact. I can just basically say since my opponent gives no impact, drop it because we don't know how to exactly to weigh it in this round, let alone what the issue is with the link, right? Because if you don't tell us how exactly to weigh it or what is the impact of poverty reduction, then we don't know.
Okay, so another way to formulate what you're saying is that the AF doesn't answer the question, so what?
Okay.
So far, I've set up that people would make more money in my world. But then I have to answer the question, why is that a good thing?
Uh-huh.
So essentially, the impact answers the question, why do we care?
Mm-hmm.
So what? What is good about it? So, as you correctly pointed out, that's the Abu Jamal evidence.
Yeah.
Tell me what you have flowed for Abu Jamal.
What it's basically saying is that poverty is like nuclear war, which gives it the nuclear war impact in some ways. It's basically saying poverty is invisible. It's like genocide of the poor. Uh, that's basically the gist of it, in my opinion. It's just it's like a regular nuclear car impact, except it links poverty to nuclear war.
Sort of. Okay, so there's a nuanced difference. It doesn't link poverty to nuclear war.
Oh
It
yeah, let me rephrase that. What I meant was like it says it's on the same level in
right.
some way.
It compares it to nuclear war.
Yeah.
Good. So another way to rephrase everything you just said is that Abu Jamal establishes that poverty really sucks. Now, that's a rather simplified version, right? And
Yeah.
it doesn't sound super professional. But essentially, what it's doing is it's answering the question, so what? So, in general, the way that arguments are constructed in net benefits, like in net benefits, I mean on cost benefit analysis debates, which are also popularly referred to as util debates.
Yeah.
Um, on util debates, the way an argument is structured is that it provides some sort of uniqueness. The other jargon word here is inherency.
Yeah. I remember this. Um, yeah. Okay. I remember we talked about this at VBI.
Cool. Um, so we'll talk a lot more about this in depth, but right now we're just giving you a basic. We're just going through the broad strokes of LD debate, and so just write this down. That like the structure of an advantage or a disadvantage on the util debate is it establishes some type of inherency or some type of uniqueness.
Mm-hmm.
Then it provides a link as to why voting for the debater who is making the arguments would solve that problem.
Yep.
And then it establishes some sort of answer to the question, why should we solve the problem? Why do we care about the problem? Why is it a problem? And usually that answer is something like, well, poverty really sucks, crime really sucks, murder really sucks, economic collapse really sucks,
I just have a
etc.
quick, I just have a quick question. Um,
Absolutely.
do we need a solvency advocate if you're running like a plan or some sorts? Do we also need that? Is it like inherently a part
It is
of?
not inherently a part. That is a theoretical concern.
Okay.
And we will discuss the solvency advocate requirement that a lot of people think is very vital to reading a plan at some later date.
All right.
But that's a great question. That is definitely not essential. So the three parts that are essential is that you need some type of uniqueness, you need some type of link, and you need some type of impact. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. All right, so we're going to leave this drill aside, and we're going to move to a theory drill.